So it can be a slog. And let me tell you, if it feels like a slog, I don't think you should start there. First and foremost, because I think the process of finding your next opportunity can be enjoyable. It doesn't have to be a drag. And I think that what we're conditioned to believe is we have to go hard, we have to grind, we have to suck it up and do the things that don't feel good. And I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that. Hello and welcome to the Unlock Lab. I'm your host, Tosca DiMatteo, and I'm so glad you're here. Especially glad that you're here if you are on the verge or in the middle of looking for your next job or considering the next step in your career progress. I'm here to tell you that what you think the first thing you should do is actually not the first thing you should do. So if you're thinking you need to touch that resume and that's the first thing you need to do, I'm here to say I highly recommend not doing that first. Before we jump into the details on that, if you are listening to this for the first time, let me take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Tosca DiMatteo, and I'm the founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting. I support professionals to have a career transformation. And that means getting at the underlying things that are making you feel stuck or making you feel frustrated, maybe even sad and disappointed in your career. And I help you find the joy and rediscover who you are in this process of reaching your potential. If you want to learn more, visit CoachTosca.com. All right. So here's the thing, right? I work with a lot of folks who are feeling stuck in their career, right? And often they come to me and they're like, hey, I need help with my resume. Let's do it. And, they usually know that I do transformation work and that is all encompassing. In fact, I rarely offer resume support without additional coaching. It's very limited cases where I will just support with a resume rewrite. And let me tell you why. Because the resume is not the first thing that needs to be done when you decide you're ready to look for your next opportunity. Why? Because usually the resume feels like a heavy lift for people. I rarely run into people that are like, I love doing my resume. I can't wait to touch this thing up. Like, hey, and if you're one of those people, let me know because I want to learn more about why you enjoy it. Most people don't. For most people, it's really hard to self-promote or it's hard to figure out how to articulate things. And it's hard to articulate situations and roles and jobs where maybe you were not happy or there was a lot of politics. You're like, how do I capture the tenacity that I had in this role that was a total shit show, pardon my French. So it can be a slog. And let me tell you, if it feels like a slog, I don't think you should start there. First and foremost, because I think the process of finding your next opportunity can be enjoyable. It doesn't have to be a drag. And I think that what we're conditioned to believe is we have to go hard, we have to grind, we have to suck it up and do the things that don't feel good. And I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that. I think that there's a way to find more levity, to find more excitement in the journey of finding the next thing. And I mean that whether you just left your job by force or by choice, whether you're in a role that you're just ready to move out of, whatever the reasons are, I think that it's your birthright to enjoy the journey. So in that vein, the reason why I don't recommend touching the resume first is because oftentimes the very first thing that we need to do before we look for what's next is to clear our history, to clear what's stuck in us, to clear the emotions that maybe we haven't processed yet from an experience that was less than stellar. We're often leaving because where we are or where we've been wasn't great for us. And that's often what we're leaving for, something better. And what happens actually in the work that I do with my clients is we don't touch the resume for usually at least a few weeks, maybe even a few months into the process, because in advance of touching the resume, what we're doing is we're finding out what's been going on. What are the emotions? How are you feeling? What is spiraling? Has your confidence been affected by the last role? Or maybe it was a few roles ago and you never really addressed that either in terms of finding some reconciliation for yourself. If your confidence is in the crapper, if you're feeling not enough, if you're feeling frustrated, or if you're feeling like what you're looking for isn't going to exist or doesn't exist, or you're just feeling negative and pessimistic about things, then if you touch your resume when you're in that energy, it's not going to serve you. The resume is not actually the most important thing in the process of career transformation. What's most important is that you are energetically in a great place, that you feel good about yourself and your experience and what you bring to the table. Because once you feel that way, once you've stepped into the narrative that serves you, once you've looked back and said, what do I need to clear, and done that work, and you look back and say, what have I learned from the things that maybe didn't go well or didn't go the way that I wanted it to? Once you're able to do that, then the resume is a reflection of your truth and how you actually feel about yourself. But if there's a disconnect between what you're telling yourself about your experience and where you are and how you feel and what that resume says, then that is not a great recipe for putting forth into the world. It's kind of like the idea of have you ever been in a situation where somebody sent you an email and you were super triggered and you were like, oh man, super pissed, but I'm going to write back right now anyway. And then you say all the nice things and you say all the good words, and that person still knows that you were upset. You're like, how is that possible? I didn't write anything. It's because energetically, that's what came through the computer in your email. And the same thing happens with your resume. And even if it gets through and you get the interview, if in your heart you're still not feeling good about yourself or you haven't stepped into your power and your full confidence, then that interview may not go as good as it could, because how you're acting and the confidence that you're exuding is actually not in alignment with how you really feel about yourself. And aligning those things is where the magic is in pursuing your next step in your career. Does this sound like a new concept for you? Does it sound a little crazy? I hope it does, because I'm all about doing things differently. I'm all about forget the status quo and what we've been indoctrinated to think that we're supposed to do, and really consider what's really going to serve you. Another big piece to this is, especially for folks that have maybe gotten let go, is you need space, people. I can't tell you how much I see people who maybe got laid off and they jump right into the job search and they don't give themselves the space. That is so important to help you to process through the emotions that you feel, to just sit with yourself, to just regather yourself. And that often takes longer than we want or we think it's going to take. So if you're resonating with this, just know that even if you gave yourself 6 months off and you're still kind of not feeling ready, that's normal. When we go and go and go in our careers and we don't give ourselves a pause, it catches up. It really catches up. And my ploy to you is to give yourself space and grace in the journey. And maybe you did give yourself time off and maybe you're back in the search. Are you burned out? If you're burned out, stop, give yourself a break, take a week off, take 2 weeks off, so that again, when you are in the process of searching, of networking, of tweaking your resume, you're doing it from a place of, I'm feeling good. And you're doing it from a place of belief in yourself and trust that everything is going to be okay. There's a few other things that you can do before even touching your resume. I mentioned clearing the past. That's a really big one. Another piece of it is putting together a support system for yourself. in this journey, whether you're currently in a job or you're not. Really reaching out to folks that can support you in reminding you who you are, being your cheerleader, and being by your side in the process is extremely beneficial. Get into networking groups if you are called to that. Call your closest friends and confidants and cheerleaders and let them know, hey, I'm going to call on you. I might have some tough days, or I might call on you because I need to be lifted up before I have this interview or conversation, or before I even start the process of doing anything. I just might need some pep talks. And so honor what you might need and consider the people that can support you with those needs. And that also includes getting yourself support, whether it's a coach, a mentor, somebody on the outside that can be really objective in supporting you. I see so much that folks don't give themselves permission to get support. And this process is really hard to go it alone. And it's really hard when you do get to the resume to look at your experience without a mirror, without somebody showing you, asking you questions to get at who you are and what you bring to the table. Look, case in point, I just engaged somebody to support me in taking a really hard look at my positioning and my messaging. This is work that I did for a living for many years and I continue to do with my clients. But I know I need support. I need to get an external view on my stuff so that I'm not missing anything, and so that my language and my messaging is really honoring what I have to say and what my unique superpowers are. So I have to do this myself. And yeah, like, do I want to write that check? No. Do I want to think I can do it all by myself? Yeah, I do. But I know that I can. I think one of the things that holds people back from getting the support that they need, it really comes down to, do you feel worthy? Do you feel worthy of giving yourself support? I hope you do. And if the answer is no, then I want you to really, really reconsider what advice you would give to your best friend. Would you tell your best friend, yeah, go invest in yourself, go get support, go hire the coach, or join that networking group, or join that membership, or give yourself permission to go to that conference because you're really excited and you've always wanted to go? I want you to be your own best friend in this process. So take a step back and say, what would you tell your own best friend if they were dealing with it? So that's, piece number 2 is getting support in the journey. I can't emphasize that one enough. So here's my third tip on what to do other than touch your resume when you're ready to take the next step in your career. My recommendation is for you to take a look at your environment and make some adjustments. So it kind of goes back to this idea of what's the energy that you're in. And when you're ready for a new chapter, taking a look at your space is really helpful to say, okay, how do I want to signal to myself that I'm ready for change and I'm ready for this next step? It could be a few different things. It might be your office space. It might be somewhere in your home. Maybe it's not your office, but maybe it's like, I want to change up my bedroom. I want it to be fresh. Maybe you're looking in your closet. You want to get rid of a few things because you want to usher in the new. You want to get rid of things that maybe you don't feel super powerful and fabulous in, or that just doesn't represent your style anymore. But what are the physical things around you that you can start to shift to prepare you for being in the energy of what's new? That can also mean rearranging furniture. That could mean getting rid of some old artwork and putting up some new ones. That could mean putting some things on your desk that remind you what your goals are, or what your values are, or who you want to be as you show up in this next chapter. There's all kinds of things in our physical environment that we can do. That might also be on your phone, putting an image that really connects with you in terms of your power and your intention. even myself, like I recently got rid of my painting that I've had in my office for years. There was a lot of color. It was very busy. And I decided, you know what? I really want to like just simplify. I just want to simplify my office a little bit. And that was a small move that I made, but it felt good. And it's still a work in progress, to be honest. But yeah, like, and maybe it could be a scent. I'm kind of using all the senses, right? Like it could be maybe you want to grab a scent, a cologne or a perfume that makes you feel how you want to feel. Maybe you love citrus and you just want to be just embodied by citrus and feeling like fresh in spring and summer or whatever comes to you. You know, it's like trust it. Trust that the whispers of what you need and what would feel good are valid, even if they may seem silly to you. Because our intuition is always at play and it wants to get our attention. And if you're coming from a challenging situation, it's even more important to give yourself time and space to listen to yourself and your own guidance. My hope for you is that you choose what feels good and fun. And that might go against what you're doing right now, which is you might be being hard on yourself. Your inner critics might be coming in and telling you things that aren't true, because that's what our inner critics do. And in times when you're looking for what's next, I think what will attract those things that you want is you being in the feeling that serves you, you being in the energy that feels good, and you honoring what you need to do for you for self-care. And I don't use that word. I'm not just throwing around self-care. I'm saying you take care of your mental, physical, and emotional parts so that you can get more fully into your power and who you are and take care of yourself so that you can then show up and show out as you are looking for the next thing. This isn't a super long episode. My point is potent. My friends, if you take nothing else away from this episode, I hope you remember this. If it feels heavy and daunting to look at your resume and to make adjustments, don't do it. Wait until you're in a space where you can find a little bit of excitement to tell your story, a little bit of excitement to look at what's next. We are conditioned to believe that we have to force things, that we have to do things, even when we're in a crappy mood or whatever. And that's not true. I think that you will be way more productive and way more effective if you first honor that you want to get your mind and your heart right. If there's anything I can do in that process, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find my contact information in the show notes. And I'm wishing you all the best as you pursue what's next. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so glad you're here. I look forward to being with you in the next episode. So ciao for now.